Howdy and welcome to the Feed Bandit Podcast, where we have fun talking all things hunting and in the process do our best to support small and family-owned businesses in the hunting space. Here are your hosts and resident bandits, Jimmy Byrne and Richard Kinchlow. Howdy everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Feed Bandit Podcast. Again, with you as always is myself, Jimmy Byrne, joined by my host, the always intrepid hunter, Richard Kinchlow. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, so tonight I think we're gonna have an interesting conversation. It's about things that, maybe people don't maybe not think about it too much because it's right after the deer season, but you can't rest on your laurels. There's always stuff to do, right? I mean, so we want to talk about now that it's the off season for deer hunting, at least in Texas. What are those things that people should have on their mind? What they should be planning for?
Right.
How should they be planning for the next season, what they should do on their land and things of that nature. So it's kind of a potpourri episode of things of that nature. So
absolutely.
Let's dive into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, with the end of the deer season, a lot of folks get really down in the dumps and rightfully so. I mean, you spend so many months and so many dollars, getting ready for this time of year. And then when it's here, you're soaking it in, you're loving it, and you're hating Sundays because you got to go back to the city, and but unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and the deer season for the majority of folks has ended here in the in the state of Texas. So, right now though, as Jimmy alluded to, can't stop. Right now is an absolute crucial time for the white-tailed deer. So let's dive into that a little bit. Typically, as of January 1st is typically when, at least on Rancho Bandito, we start to prepare for the future. I mean, we are literally starting to make preparations so that we can help the deer with supplemental feeding. Adding protein pellets, cotton seed, things of that nature. We keep our corn feeders running, from September to really when they go empty, so that we've got 1,500-pound corn feeders, so they'll typically go empty actually right about now. But corn is really, I've heard the deer experts compare it to really more of like a candy bar. It's a starch, it gives them a little burst of energy, but there's really no nutrition. So now here we are in January. It's post-rut. It's cold. In fact, I'm actually heard that we actually have a pretty crazy February that could be in store for us. Some of the models that I look at them, I have no idea what they mean. But the folks that do say it could be incredibly cold in February.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Is it like the Farmer's Almanac?
Well, no. Well, actually, so the Farmer's Almanac actually did say, below average cold, but this is the meteorologist, for NOAA, not the guy with the boat, but the Weather Service, talking about severe cold. So here we go. It's winter. It's January. Again, the bucks especially are post-rut, but the does are post-rut as well. I mean, they're running. They've lost a lot of weight. Obviously their natural forage isn't as plentiful as it used to be. So, if you're going to supplemental feed, my goodness, now is a good time to do it.
So basically, you're saying because you want to get help them through the harsh winter, I guess.
Exactly.
But, help them put on some weight, some
absolutely
some fat,
absolutely.
I guess.
Absolutely, you bet. Yeah. Start to kind of regain what they lost during the rut. And you'll start to see, we're seeing in the Rancho Bandito right now, the bucks are starting to come back to the feeders a lot. They're starting to get back in their bachelor groups, so they're really they're kind of taking a break, so getting those protein feeders filled, is absolutely crucial. Another little piece of advice for you, typically, in some places such as our place, I was actually checking our protein feeders this past Saturday. And I went up to him and I saw some protein in there. So I kind of banged on the downspout, and then some came out. And then I realized, man, some of that didn't move when I banged and when I hit the spout. And so I realized that, we had a torrential amount of rainfall that destroyed my dove season in October. Well, it also clogged my protein feeders like a son of a gun. So, make sure that you obviously look before you stick your hand in there, but stick your hand in there and carry a screwdriver with you or something like that to where you can really get all that clumpy, moldy protein out. I heard once that the deer are smart enough not to consume a piece of black or white protein, but you don't want to take a chance,
Well,
so
and it probably smells off, right? So
right.
probably don't want to eat that.
Exactly. But it's just kind of part of general maintenance for your protein feeders. If they're not dry, get out there, or if they haven't been cleaned out, clean them out. Clean out those tubes, and so that way when you do put the fresh protein in there, you're good to go. And as a general rule of thumb, you really need to, especially when it starts to get hot, and you get, God willing, you do get some rain. You really want to check those protein feeders and make sure they're not clumping up. But get them full. Now's the time. Get them full.
What would you do if, let's say you had a property and all you had were spin type corn feeders? You don't really have protein feeders out there. Sure. What would you do in that scenario, or suggest doing that?
That's a great question. That's a really great question, and then that's actually really kind of more of a probably a reality scenario for a lot of folks. That maybe they don't own the land. The lease is 6 hours away. A couple of things you can do. First of all, you can look at buying a pretty big protein feeder, and get it filled up and just hope that it stays kind of unclogged, and I know a lot of people do that. The second thing some folks do, it's become really popular now, is they have timed protein feeders. I know every brand of deer feeders, at least the ones that are manufactured here in Texas, have got a timing option on there. So obviously it works just kind of like a spin feeder, except it works with the protein. The third option, if you don't really want to have a dedicated protein feeder. Okay, when we say a protein feeder, I probably should have clarified that. When we're talking about protein feeders, we're talking about a non-mechanical deer feeder. Basically, it's gravity fed. Okay, so there's no working parts per se. But yeah, no, as Jimmy said, if you've just got a spin feeder, can you throw protein? Yeah, yes, you can. Now, a lot of folks will say, I don't know, because it gets wet and it'll clog, and that's very true. That being said, if you've got chunky or moldy corn, okay, that means you've got moisture getting into your barrel. Do not put protein in there. You will have yourselves one hell of a gag fest. Which is funny. And actually, if you do and you get a bad one, film it and send it to us.
Yes, no question.
It's the funniest thing on earth. It's disgusting. But make sure your barrel's in really good condition before you fill it with protein. Also, protein's going to be, obviously the pellets are a little bit longer than corn. So one thing that we do is we do have a spin feeder that throws protein, is we kind of lower the spin plate. Okay, so that allows more protein to come out. So you're going to be throwing a lot more. Okay, so it's going to go empty, less. So what we do is we dial it down. Okay, so instead of 4 seconds, we'll go to 2 seconds. And that, I think that's a really good compromise, because when the moisture comes in, when it's raining sideways or something like that, the pellets won't poof up like cat food and water. So lower that spin plate a little bit, and you should be in good shape. We haven't had any problems with our feeder when we do that. So again, protein pellets is absolutely huge. Another thing that we do, and it's just become extremely popular within the last five years or so, has been cottonseed. Cottonseed is, and when we've written about it, we'll continue to write about it. Cottonseed is an absolute outstanding source of protein for the deer, and for your other hooved animals as well. I know our black buck and our axis deer eat it as well. So a great source of protein. Is going to be less expensive than protein pellets is generally. Going to be more difficult to find, though. I know in Texas, I've heard, I'm not an expert, I've heard it was kind of a rough year for cotton. So the cotton seed may be a little bit more expensive. Also be a little bit more difficult to find, which of course
Now,
is something that we're
is
working.
is that the same cotton seed then that the farmers actually till?
Right. That's my understanding. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. So it's the exact same thing. So when they put it in the Eli Whitney cotton gin, all right, and it extracts the I actually did a report on him in 5th grade. It's like everybody else picked like the lamp and the car, and I picked the cotton gin.
No, that's great.
Yeah, and let me tell you, the encyclopedia had like 2 pages on them. I'm like, well, that's great. This is good. Anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, so the great things about the cottonseed, again, it's going to be less expensive generally. Okay, it also is a lot more rain resistant. Okay, a lot of the cottonseed feeders you see out there, although a lot of the manufacturers are actually starting to come out with cottonseed dedicated cottonseed feeders. You can simply get some V-net wire, and then wire it to a T-post. I think we've got some pictures on our website of the ones we use. And we put a mineral lick bucket on top of it, and that kind of sort of keeps the rain out of it. But anyways, the deer absolutely pound it. They absolutely love it. In fact, I will go out and say that the deer on Rancho Bandito actually prefer cottonseed over protein. Mm-hmm. I've watched them, and time again, they will hit that cottonseed before they hit the protein. So I think it's pretty cool. Storing it can kind of be an issue. You need to really plan ahead and think ahead if you are going to start a feeding program with cottonseed. Typically like most things, you'd like a cool, dry place, right? To be able to store a lot. I've seen a lot of fellas out there with 16-foot trailers that end up taking 2 or 3 tarps and end up making some sort of rig to kind of keep it all to keep it dry, and that seems to work. I've seen folks use old timey refrigerators to store it in. So you really just, as long as it's kept dry and out of the way of livestock. Obviously, there's a lot of cattle ranchers and whatnot will feed their cattle cottonseed. Obviously, it's very good for them as well. So the livestock will obliterate it if they get to it. So be careful of that. But January is a real crucial time to help those does, help those bucks kind of regain their strength. Okay, again, not a lot of natural forage is left. Okay, the acorns are munched up or rotten by now, so you've got your wintertime forbs and whatnot. But I mean, this is the time to start supplemental feeding right now.
Well, and you're probably laying a decent foundation, I would imagine, for the new antler growth.
Absolutely.
As they lose their antlers.
Absolutely.
They'll start growing again. So
that's exactly what I was gonna get at next. The antlers are gonna start growing. Again, they're just like fingernails. They're constantly growing. And so as those antlers start to fall, they got a new set that's pushing out. So again, now's the time to start helping them out with that. And again, talking about antlers really quickly. A majority of the nutrition that the deer intakes is actually going to go to its body first and then to its antlers. Okay, so that's obviously why when you've got poor range conditions, not a lot of overgrazing, you have drought conditions. Okay, for an extended period of time, that's why you start to kind of see a downturn in the antlers. Okay, and again, this is where supplemental feeding can help offset some of that. But no, you're exactly right, Jimmy. As those antlers are starting to regrow, it's so important to get that protein, to get that supplemental feeding in there, to get those, to get them a good start. And then as we get into February and March, we'll talk about the benefits of the protein, because the does are pregnant, okay, and then they need energy and whatnot to get through. And then in the summer, the protein, the supplemental feeding is going to help with the doe's lactation and whatnot for the fawns. So super important you get started off on the right foot. So do not you might hang your gun up, okay, but it's time to put your working hat on for sure.
Well, hang your gun up for deer, but
well,
not
that's
other
true.
animals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Golly. I mean, you kidding me? Yeah. We, at Rancho Bandito this weekend, we killed, I think we killed 15 hogs. So lots of pigs to be shot, with really no natural predators except for themselves, the occasional mountain lion, car, and hunter. There's not a lot out there to really, to keep their numbers in check. So, a lot of folks dread the off season. I love it. I really do. I love watching the seasons turn. I love seeing spring green up. So, and again, seeing the fruits of your labor, out there, starting to put the cottonseed out, fill those protein feeders up, eventually put mineral out, and it all kind of blows up there in November and December when you see hopefully those big antlers. So,
well, when would you put the mineral blocks out?
Yeah, the mineral, as far as salt is concerned, we typically put salt out a month or two after spring green up, and that is because and again, I'm not a PhD or an MD. Actually, I'm an MBA, but that has nothing to do with science whatsoever. I have heard that when the spring green up and they got a whole bunch of new green forbs and whatnot, they really start to crave salt. In fact, I've heard that they will travel miles to find salt. So that's when we put the salt out. The other minerals, okay, whether it be in the granular form, or in a lick form. I think you can put that out really whenever. In fact, we should probably put it out with the protein pellets and the cottonseed, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Because again, all that stuff's going to be going to the antlers, going to the overall, nutrition health of the animal.
All right. So it's still winter here, obviously. Yep. I guess it's technically winter till what? Mid-March or whatever, I guess.
I think so, yeah.
March 20th or whatever, right. Typically the solstice is. But at what point do you start thinking about possible, spring food plots and things of that nature, preparing the land, that type of stuff?
Sure, yeah. I think it really depends on where you are. Obviously, there's a lot of, here in Texas, a majority of the food plots, I think a lot of folks use those blends that you can get from, whatever company. And, it's got chicory and pea and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of folks just use straight winter wheat seed or oats or whatnot. And, obviously that's planned in the fall. This year, and the reason why I'm kind of going here is this year is kind of different. A lot of folks planted wheat and oats really late this year because the army worms were so bad. The army worms were so terrible at first. If you don't know what an army worm is, look it up. It devastates your wheat or your oat crop. And then after the army worm epidemic subsided, we had torrents, gallons of rain. Again, 2 feet of rain, so you couldn't get tractor in there to plant anything. And so, we finally were able to get in there, and we were like, well, I don't know if it's going to come up or not. It could have rotted out. Well, sure enough, look what's coming up. So, we inadvertently have great springtime food plots coming up. We're pretty excited about it. Mm-hmm. But, generally under normal conditions, I think that you're supposed to wait, or at least attempt to wait till after the last hard freeze. Okay. And so obviously that will, as you move further north, that'll get later and later in the season. So, excuse me, when we've done springtime plots, and we haven't done a lot of them, but when we have, we typically will do it. We'll try to sow them sometime in March, try to take advantage of the hopefully the warming cycle. It's typically when we kind of get our spring green up and typically our last freeze. So, right around there. We don't do spring food plots a lot because we do have a lot of really good natural forage. We spend a lot more time out there in the spring and summer, removing cedar trees where needed and prickly pear cactus to make more room for natural forage. The other problem that we have is that where we do have our wintertime plots, we also have a nasty, nasty invasive grass called the Johnson grass. Johnson grass is kind of bittersweet. Okay, it can be a decent cattle forage, but for wildlife, other than cover, it really serves no purpose. So the problem is, in fact, I was staring at it the other day, losing enamel in my teeth. I've seen where our wheat's coming up. Well, I can also see the Johnson grass coming up. So what we really try to do is we really try to, after the wheat's headed out, okay, and again, it's mixed with frickin' Johnson grass, we try to kill that Johnson grass so we don't replow it, okay? Mm-hmm. The problem with the Johnson grass is that the root stem or the ribosome, I think, where's Daniel when we need him?
Right.
That root thing basically kind of grows across the ground, obviously underneath the earth. And so if you cut it, it doesn't really hurt it. It just kind of regrows, So that's why we don't do it, because if we go out there and retill, we're just making that Johnson grass even worse. Mm-hmm. So that's primarily why we don't do it on Rancho Bandito.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess another thing to do right now, it's winter and everything, is to trim up some of your trees. If you want
for sure.
You need to help expand some viewing lanes or stuff like that, or just to help out with browse areas or whatever. It's good time for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, right now is a great time to do, a lot of those chores that, that you don't want to do when it's July.
Right.
The other thing to think about, and you actually bring up a really good point, Jimmy, is that, trimming some shooting lanes and whatnot is going to look different in July than it is in November. Okay, well, you're not going to be hunting deer in July. You're going to be hunting in November. So why don't you trim what you need to while the leaves are off the trees, so on and so forth. So that way the following year you're going to be good shape, Mm-hmm. Obviously, when the leaves come back on the trees, everything starts to grow up again. It may look completely different. So no, I totally agree. Now's the time to, you get to sleep in. You got hogs to shoot. You got predators to shoot, which I want to do a whole different deal on that, because predator hunting, if you have never done it, is an absolute kick. And although these animals were put on Earth for a reason, we predators need to be held in check as much as possible too. So we're going to do a whole new session on those guys. Mm-hmm. But yeah, trimming the lanes, fixing blinds, getting the protein feeders ready. Getting the cottonseed feeders filled, that's what you need to do. And in the state of Texas, blasting hogs. Absolutely.
That's right, yeah. It's also a good time to move blinds and feeders. So
for sure.
Again, going back to, you don't want to do it in July.
Oh, yeah.
Might as well do it now and do the work to clear, if you need to clear a lot of the land where you think there's a good spot for that.
Absolutely.
Get out there and do that now.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the kind of way I look at it is like, do I want to move a blind, that weighs 900 pounds with steel that warms up to 140 degrees, touching my skin, or do I want to wait till it's nice and cool? I mean, either way, it's going to be hard and you're going to hate it, but God, do it now where it won't literally rip your skin off from the heat. Yeah.
You sound like you're saying that from experience.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have moved many a blind, and we did the old fashioned way. These were, I call them the South Texas tower stands. Okay. So they're the 20 footers. Okay. It's oh God. They're absolutely enormous. They rock. They're not very wide, and we would lower them down with the Jeep onto a 16-foot trailer, and it just got it. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And surprisingly, we didn't destroy a blind or a Jeep or a trailer trying to move them. Those are the good old days.
Yeah, just wear, if you're going to do it in July or August, just do it with gloves on so you save the skin on your hands.
No doubt, dude. No doubt. Absolutely. Yeah, and lots of water, that's for sure.
Lots of water. Maybe some beer.
Yeah, or some or some beer, no doubt. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, what else should people be doing?
Well,
anything else?
I think one other thing folks can look at doing is start thinking about turkey season. In Texas, It doesn't open up until I think like March 30th is like the youth season, but start patterning your turkeys. A lot of folks like us on the Rancho Bandito, we basically hate their existence because those corn bandits come in and they'll destroy a feeder. They'll destroy that evening or that morning's output of corn in less than 30 seconds. But post deer season, we start to kind of love them again. So now's a great time to kind of quote unquote put them to bed. See where they're roosting. Things of that nature. Now, of course, that can change. If they get blown off their roost by a predator, they could move. But no, absolutely. Now would be a decent time to start looking at their patterns. Start making plans for March. I mean, it's quite literally will be here before you know it.
Yeah. I mean, that's something you could do easily. Just get up in the morning or drive around in the afternoon, see if you can see them, and
absolutely
see if you can watch where they go. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing I would tell folks is to, take advantage of these cool months. Again, going back to Texas, take advantage of these cool months and, get out there with a backpack and a machete or whatever you need and, and do a little exploring on your land. You'd be surprised what you would find, good and bad.
Do some shed hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and then I was about to say, that's one of the other great things about, March is finding those shed antlers. I mean, especially with the kids. We will at the Rancho Bandito, we'll load up on the UTVs with all the kiddos, and we'll go out there and watch the kids find antlers. That's a lot of fun. My oldest daughter actually, we were heading out to the blind the week after Christmas, and
Heaven Week.
Heaven Week. Yeah, we're right there by the house, and she screams, "Stop, stop, stop!" And I'm like, "Oh my God!" Kind of slam on the brake, and she gets out and runs this piece of the kind of the backyard, if you will. It's full of live oaks, and I just wasn't looking. There was a massive axis antler sitting right there. In fact, I think we did an Instagram picture on him. It was just really, really cool. So. Yeah, lots of fun things to do in the off season, no doubt.
Didn't she find two over that week?
No, Trav found.
Trav, that's right. Two. But she was riding with them when they found.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So, I mean, to find 3 axis antlers in one sitting was pretty cool. It was really cool.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, you got any other ideas or parting words?
I think that's about it. I think on our next one, I'd really like to talk about predator hunting, kind of the how and what you should try, and a little bit about the bobcat and the coyote in particular. Some tips and tricks. Again, if you've never predator hunted before, it is an absolute ball. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Obviously, there's a lot of YouTube videos on it as well, but I'll tell you about my experiences. We've seen some really cool stuff. Every time is kind of a unique adventure. So we'll talk about that next time.
All right. Well, that sounds fun. Yeah, I look forward to that conversation. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Now you know what you need to be out there doing over the next couple of months. So. Listen to Dr. Kinchlow here, and
yeah.
But he his PhD piled high and deep.
That's right.
Giving you the.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Giving you your marching orders. So
there you go. There you go. Trying.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for all that information, and everyone out there, go out there, have a good time, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one.
Support your local feed store.
Yes. Adios. Thanks for listening to the Feed Bandit podcast. If you want to find new and innovative hunting gear and service providers not typically offered through the traditional big box hunting stores, come on over and join the hunt at feedbandit.com/join. When you join, as a bonus, you'll get our entertaining free e-guide of unique hunting tips and tricks. And a reminder to all you small businesses, feed stores, gear inventors, or entrepreneurs in the hunting space, if you'd like to get more exposure to potential customers by being featured on the Feed Bandit podcast, please let us know. We'd love to discuss what we can do for you and your business. Go to feedbandit.com/promote. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If If you did, please give us a rating and review on iTunes, as it would really help us out. Go to feedbandit.com/iTunes. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, please remember to support your local feed store.